Welcome everyone to the CarolinaCast podcast, season 3, episode 8. I am your host, Chris Verma. If you are joining us for the first time, make sure you hit the subscribe button as the CarolinaCast is on the road to 2,000 subscribers. We're getting very close to that, which is very monumental. So thank you all so much. You want to check us out on Instagram or TikTok? We are at CarolinaCast Sports. Our Twitter/X is CarolinaCast_15. Once again, smash that subscribe button. We are on the road to 2,000 subscribers. And let's go ahead and get straight to it. So first and foremost, this podcast is about free agency day 1 and day 2. I will do the rest of the other days in a couple of days once everything wraps up. This is at 9:54 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday night, March 12th. So if anything else happens right now, it happens. But we're about to, well, from what I have right now, is what I'm going to discuss with all of you. All right. So first and foremost, we got to talk about some of the departures and the players we lost, man, because we lost a lot of guys that were really monumental to this Panthers team. And my point of view on it is, yes, it sucks to lose like your monumental players and the guys that have been with you for such a long time, but it was coming to the time where Carolina had to move on. So some of the departures, Hayden Hurst, who we signed last season, we all know about his issues. He needs to rest up, man. And whatever happened to him on the football field this year was very tragic, and the way that he was hit was very tragic, and that's why he's really in the state of mind where he cannot play football anymore. So it's the Panthers and them mutually agreed to cut ties. Hayden Hurst, I mean, best of luck to you. I hope he gets rested up very well. Von Bell, who the Panthers also signed last season from the Cincinnati Bengals, is getting released. It is not official yet. That is all we have heard. That could possibly turn into a trade. But what we're learning right now is that he is likely getting released. And Bradley Bozeman, who was our Walter Payton Man of the Year candidate, he is also getting let go. Amazing person, amazing family guy. I mean, just a great person. Great. He was a solid center for us, but we're just going in a different direction right now, trying to clear some cap space. We did sign Bozeman to a contract extension last season, so we will have to fall into some guaranteed issues there, but we will obviously take care of that. And just moving forward, I think the Panthers have to be careful with how they sign players because, I mean, we went same thing with Von Bell. Hayden Hurst, now that was uncalled for what really happened to him. But for Von Bell and Bradley Bozeman, Carolina decided to jump on a big contract, and now they have to pay the price for it, as both those two will not be on the football team next season. Other big name, Yatir Gross-Matos already signed a 2-year contract with the San Francisco 49ers, so he will no longer be in Carolina, who is a really solid edge rusher to work with alongside Brian Burns, which we'll get to him in just a minute. That's also really tough to talk about. Jeremy Chin is also being let go. He's not really work in a Jiro Evero's scheme. He was really nice in a Matt Rule scheme that he worked with in Carolina, but it's just not going to work out really. He doesn't get a lot of snaps anymore. He's kind of been a backup role, maybe a little bit of a linebacker too. So Chin is getting cut ties, and then Dante Jackson, who's been a Panther for a while, and a lot of people thought would be a Panther forever, no longer on the team. He was traded away. We will get to that in just a minute. So we'll go to our signings. The Carolina Panthers made some moves in free agency so far, day 1 and day 2 signings. First signing started off, Panthers went on a splash. It took a couple of hours, but on day 1, Panthers made a splash and decided to sign Robert Hunt, former Miami Dolphins guard. Off of his rookie scale contract, has given up 9 sacks in his entire career with the Miami Dolphins. He's also known for that one hilarious meme where he caught the ball and almost scored a touchdown, as he gets a 5-year, $100 million contract. $20 million in annual salary. There's $63 million guaranteed. And the little information we have about him is, yes, 9 career sacks with the Miami Dolphins. It was a first All-Pro selection last season. I think this is an incredible signing for the Carolina Panthers. I mean, definitely a lot to work with. We needed offensive line. I love that the first thing Dan Morgan did was not only clear some cap space by cutting Bradley Bozeman, Von Bell, Jeremy Chin, and we traded Dante Jackson to clear some more cap space, but was to make a splash. And yes, a lot of people look at it like, oh my goodness, 5 years, $100 million, $20 million guaranteed. It is a lot of money. But if we want to go in any direction with our offensive line, it's getting good guys, young guys, dogs. That's the word Dan Morgan has used. Those are the type of guys we want in the locker room. And what we've learned about Robert Hunt is he is a locker room guy, and he was that type of guy for the Miami Dolphins, at least from what we have heard. So Robert Hunt, welcome to the Carolina Panthers. We have a new starting guard, and we have another new starting guard. At about 10:45 p.m. last night on Monday, day one of free agency, we also found out that the Carolina Panthers are signing guard Damian Lewis from the Seattle Seahawks. Folks, I was talking about him on one of the latest Panthers podcasts. We were scrolling through players and said Damian Lewis because he played under Dave Canales with the Seattle Seahawks when he was their quarterback's coach, obviously coaching Russell Wilson and the crew. So they have that little bit of a relationship right there. And also Damian Lewis in a very similar situation to what Robert Hunt is in. Very good guard. He did give up 4 sacks this season, but in total, him and Robert Hunt have only given up 20 sacks in their careers. And I'll tell you, and both of them have played 5 years. That's 10 years of NFL experience combined. And these are some guys that can help us at both guard positions, which the Carolina Panthers needed right now. Contract is looking at 4 years, $53 million. I mean, 13.25 as an annual salary, and 26.2 mil of that is guaranteed to head to Damian Lewis's bank account, which I think, once again, very good signing. And this one was obviously way cheaper than 5 years, $100 million for Robert Hunt. And good thing we did add that extra year, because 4 years, 100 would be a lot more than 5. I mean, in general, it's a lot, but we have to invest into the offensive line. Bryce Young was sacked 62 times last season, which was the most in the NFL, and there was almost a chance it'd be a lot more. Now we know guys like Akeem Ekwonu, who gave up 18 sacks last year, the most in the NFL, and he's coming off a sophomore slump. I'll say it like that. He's probably going to be a starter next season, and we're looking to see if he is if he has another down year, he's probably not going to be a starter, maybe not be in the Carolina Panthers next season. So he knows his job is on the line to protect Bryce Young on the outside. But our offensive line right now is looking like Akeem Ekwonu, Damian Lewis. Our center is probably going to be Austin Corbett. We cut Bradley Bozeman, and the rumors have been that Austin Corbett will be the center. Right guard Robert Hunt, and then right tackle Taylor Moton. It could get switched around. I don't really know the gist of that, what Dave Canales and Brad Zig decided to do with the offense. So we'll have to find that out probably in a couple weeks once training camp gets underway. But 2 very solid signings that protect Bryce Young, which is something the Panthers have had an issue for a while. And then now going into before some of the other signings and stuff, I do want to give a mention out. Shout out to KA and Dre for some of these images right here. See the Robert Hunt images. I don't have the premium membership for AI, so I had to get some of it from them. So I really appreciate them. You can go check them out on Twitter. Anyway, continuing with the signings so far, we bring in Ashawn Robinson, who played 1 season with the New York Giants, the last few years with the Los Angeles Rams. Robinson, we're going to sign him for 3 years, $22.5 million, 7.5 as his annual salary, guaranteed $10.3 million, a national champion and a Super Bowl champion throughout his football career. And I like Ashawn Robinson just because he was a great run stopper for the Los Angeles Rams. Did not have his best season with the New York Giants, but he did rack up a lot of tackles. He had 62 tackles in the Meadowlands. So, I mean, anything on the table, the Panthers need to add to the edge rusher position after losing, a lot of talent right there. And it's similar to the Shy Tuttle signing we did last season. We tried to get some help there. Shy Tuttle did not really work out the way we want him to. Hopefully, Ashawn Robinson can be that. And the Panthers also invested into the linebacker position, bringing in Josie Jewell from the Denver Broncos on another 3-year, $22.7 million contract, 7.58 as the annual salary, and $10 million guaranteed. This signing is perfect for Ejiro Evero. As it says right there, he worked in the 3-4 scheme with him in Denver, and a lot of NFL experience, 29 years old. So we're getting experience at the linebacker position. Ejiro Evero has a former teammate working with him. It'll be him and Shaq Thompson as the linebackers. As we know, Frankie Luvu's no longer on the roster. We'll get to that in just a minute. But I once again, good signing for Carolina. Help out the linebacker position. What I've heard about Joel, he's not the best in coverage. but he's a very good run stopper, which is something the Panthers have struggled in. They've been near dead last in run defense for the last few seasons. Yes, the coverage has been incredible, but we've been dead last in that run defense. And that's why Carolina's 5 or 6 in defensive rankings. It's because that run defense is so bad. The pass defense is incredible. The Carolina Panthers did not, in the 17 games they played last season, despite going 2-15, did not let a quarterback pass for over 300 passing yards. Most was Geno Smith with 296. And that was on the road, 12th man, all the crazy vibes and stuff there. So Carolina, and Jero did an incredible job in his first season with Carolina, especially with the defensive unit that was lacking stars. Now it's lacking a lot more of stars from we know of. But that's why you have the draft. That's why you have free agency to try and add new players. And some guys have step up. Some guys step up from free agency. Sometimes you find hidden gems in the draft. I know we don't have the best draft capital, but that's why you find these studs and these guys that could play from the third or fourth round, maybe even later in the draft to help out this team. Either way, retaining Evero is huge in this situation if we are going to spend more on our offense and lose some of our defense. So at least having a good coach like Evero to try and help these guys out will be big for our defense, especially with some of these departures. So now we're going to go to the 2 trades the Carolina Panthers have made in the last 24 hours. First and foremost, one of the trades that hurts a lot. Yes, we have officially traded Brian Burns. And I'll look at the camera for a minute here. The Los Angeles Rams 2 years ago, when we still had Christian McCaffrey at the time, just before McCaffrey got traded, offered us a deal that had a 2023 second round pick. So that means we had an extra second round pick last year, a 2024 first round pick, that'd be a first round pick this year, and a 2025 first round pick, that'd be a first round pick next year. We go to today, and Brian Burns is worth a second and a fifth round pick. And the New York Giants give him a 5-year, $150 million contract. Obviously, the Carolina Panthers were not going to match that offer. There's just no way. We had to deal Brian Burns for something. We were not going to match the offer. It does, and I'll say what to Panthers fans. I know everyone's going to go after Dan Morgan, like, oh my goodness, only got a second and fifth. This is not Dan Morgan's doing. Everybody needs to – I think people would forget that. Dan Morgan did not choose to not deal Brian Burns when we were offered 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick. He was the assistant general manager. This comes from the actual general manager, which was Scott Fitterer. And yes, Dan Morgan comes from that tree, but he's not Scott Fitterer. And he's not David Tepper. And he didn't work with these other coaches, right? Not like Dave Canales is out here saying, you know what, let's accept a second and a fifth for Brian Burns. That is unfortunately the best offer the Panthers could get. And I wholeheartely believe that because we waited. When we were offered those 2 first-round picks and a second, we said, hold on. We won a football game. We were 2-5 at the time. Why don't we try and continue to win? You cannot do that. You cannot be incompetent with this stuff. We dealt Christian McCaffrey for a second and a third-round pick. That in itself was horrible. I'm shocked we weren't offered a single first-round pick. We might have been offered a first-round pick and we didn't take it. So losing Burns to a second and a fifth hurts, but it was likely the best offer we could get because we waited. Brian Burns had a down year and his value crashed because people looked at Brian Burns when he was a Pro Bowl, come back-to-back Pro Bowls, having double-digit sacks back-to-back season, the spider, being a great person on the field and off the field. And that's what people wanted. That's why the Rams tried to invest 2 first-round picks and a second for him. But we did not take the offer. We waited, and we did not jump on the opportunity. And this was the best the Carolina Panthers could. This is not Dan Morgan's doing why Brian Burns was not valued as much. Now, you can say in a sense he was valued as much when the New York Giants gave him a 5-year, $150 million contract. But the other reason is since, the Panthers didn't take that offer, we're looked at as an incompetent franchise. Like, oh, you can fleece this team. That's pretty easy. It's pretty easy to come after this team and just take anything. We didn't trade for T. Higgins, at least for now, because the Bengals were demanding the second-round picks we had. We had the 33rd pick and the 39th pick that the New York Giants are sending us right now in the Brian Burns trade. Isn't that insane? The Bengals want more for T. Higgins than what the Panthers got for Brian Burns. And Brian Burns was last year or 2 years ago valued as 2 first-round picks and a second. And the Panthers, you want to know another crazy thing? I bet some of you heard this. The Panthers traded more for Sam Darnold than what they got in return for Brian Burns. So yes, a lot of NFL teams don't take us serious anymore because we don't jump on good offers and we wait and wait and wait, think the offers will get better. I don't see. Here's the thing I didn't like about Scott Fitterer, and just that offer in general. What is better than 2 first-round picks in a second? What is better than that? It is shameful that you decline 2 first-round picks in a second and then do not extend the player. Because if you're gonna let 2 first-round picks in a second go, that means they're gonna pay Brian Burns, right? I cannot name a franchise that declines 2 first-round picks in a second. I don't care how good the player is, but that means you're going to extend the player, right? That doesn't mean you're going to wait a year and a half later and then trade him for a second and a fifth because that's the best you can get now. You're not going to get a deal. You're not going to get 3 first-round picks if that's what Scott Fitterer was thinking. So Brian Burns in his situation, we're going to be rooting for him in New York. It was just it was a head scratching to look at this front offense and be like, man, you passed up on 2 first-round picks in a second for Brian Burns because you wanted to extend him, but then you don't take him serious when he asks for his money. So it's not his fault that he's going to ask for all the money in the world when we all find out that he was valued 2 first-round picks in a second, at least to the Los Angeles Rams. So let's continue with it because the Panthers did come back with a pretty solid trade. Not a Brian Burns trade, but the Panthers have acquired their wide receiver one as of right now, as earlier today here on day 2 of free agency. The Carolina Panthers have traded with the Pittsburgh Steelers to acquire wide receiver Deontay Johnson. Now, he had a very down year from what he's used to. I mean, 2 seasons ago at a 1,000-yard season, 8 touchdowns, and everyone's looking at him like, wow, this guy's on the rise, going to be very good player for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, Ben Roethlisberger retires, and now Kenny Pickett's in. That he only had 800 yards last year. Then he has 600, known for going backwards for some reason on some plays. Just questionable plays that Deontay Johnson made this season. And the Steelers, essentially, in their point of view, I think they're giving the keys to George Pickens. I think that's the obvious answer here. They want George Pickens to be their wide receiver one. They want to develop him and see if he can play as a wide receiver one, which I wholeheartedly think so. But I think this is huge for the Panthers. Yes, Deontay Johnson to a lot of teams is not a wide receiver one, but to us, he probably is. And that's because Adam Thielen is an aging receiver. He'll probably fall to wide receiver 2 with this acquisition. DJ Chark to number 3. That's if we sign him back, by the way, which I have it right here. I mean, he's still out there. If we want DJ Chark, we can bring him back. But then at the same time, Hollywood Brown is still out there. And there's been 2 years of trade rumors with him to Carolina. Now he's a free agent. We can go give him an offer. If we want to bring in 2 receivers, we trade for Deontay Johnson. Listen, the only thing we lose from Deontay Johnson is Dante Jackson and a 6th-round pick. The Carolina Panthers a week ago said they're moving on from Dante Jackson, whether that he was a trade or a release. And see, that's the other thing Panthers fans can think about is everyone saw we're moving on from Dante. He's about to get cut. Schefter put it in his tweet, trade or release, before the first day of the league year, which is tomorrow, Wednesday. So one day before, the Panthers would have had to release him today because then it would be too late. He'd have to, you have the penalties and stuff. Instead of releasing him, they find a suitor for Dante Jackson, and it works a part of them getting Deontay Johnson from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Personally, I think the Carolina Panthers win this trade, and I say it in a sense that Dante Jackson is an aging cornerback for us. His cap room did affect us in a way, and it was definitely time to move on from him. Also, the fact we only lost a 6th-round pick and we gain a 7th from this season is, not bad, really, I will say. I'm not really looking at the draft this season because we don't have a lot of draft capital. And at least we do still get a selection there, right? We still get some type of selection and an opportunity to choose a player. I'm just happy we're able to bring in a guy like Deontay Johnson. We need a receiver with experience, 1,000-yard experience. Now, DJ Chark had that, but he's been on down. He hasn't been a wide receiver one anywhere. Deontay Johnson's going to come in and immediately be the wide receiver one for the Panthers. And he's immediately going to walk in and he's going to have to be that guy for Bryce Young. And he knows that coming here to Carolina. Now, I'm curious to see if the Panthers still take a receiver at 33 or 39 now because we technically haven't traded that pick either. So the Panthers, they now have options in the 2nd round. Yes, we don't have a 1st-round pick, We're doing whatever we can to at least get a little better this season. With that all being said, incoming to the Carolina Panthers, Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis. That's the offensive line getting some help. We have a second-round pick from the New York Giants, a fifth-round pick from the New York Giants, and a seventh-round pick from the Pittsburgh Steelers that is on the way. Sean Robinson coming from the New York Giants. We signed him through free agency. Same with Josie Joel and Deontay Johnson, who we acquired in the Steelers trade. The departures do pretty hurt, though. We lose Hayden Hurst is getting released. Von Bell's getting most likely released unless something happens in an hour. Bradley Bozeman is getting released. Brian Burns was traded to the New York Giants. Frankie Louvu, I haven't talked about at all, man. I really wanted Frankie Louvu back. And the Panthers did try to get Frankie Louvu back. It's just the Commanders were better suitors. They got Louvu on a 3-year, $36 million deal, which, I mean, it really hurts seeing Frankie go. But we did get $14 million cheaper with Joel. And he also worked with Ejiro Evero. So maybe it works out a little better for us in that scenario. Yatir Gross-Matos does hurt as well because that's another guy the Panthers, like, we lost Brian Burns. Like, okay, we need to sign back Yatir immediately, right? Because we need an edge rusher. There's some depth, and he's gone to San Francisco. So now the Panthers really have a gaping hole at the edge rusher position right now. And, I mean, we did hear about some guys that could be coming in. I'll say that as the last thing. So Gross-Matos is gone. Jeremy Chin, sucks to see him go too. He's signing a 1-year deal with Washington. So, yeah, I mean, Rivera's not there. He was recruiting a lot of Panthers players over there, but now that he's not the head coach anymore, it's Dan Quinn, who was the defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys and used to be head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Now taking Jeremy Chin and Frankie Louvu from us, they had the cap space. And I'm just going to be honest. And then Dante Jackson acquired in that Steelers trade. He'll go there. Plus, they get a 6th-round pick from us. But then we did hear about some possible people that could be joining the Carolina Panthers. Currently, Carolina has 2 main visits. Number one, Chase Young, the former 2nd overall pick from the 2020 NFL draft. I believe it was. Might have been a different year. Might have messed up there. But Chase Young, massive option for Carolina because we're so low on the edge rusher position right now. We might draft somebody because, like, once again, we have 33 and 39. I know a lot of people are saying Chop Robinson might go in the 1st round, but he's also an option. So if Carolina could possibly sign Chase Young, who's already coming on a visit, and then bring in Chop Robinson, you kind of have like your edge fixed like that. I don't know how much money we'll have to pay Chase Young. And obviously Chop Robinson would come on a rookie scale contract. So Chop Robinson would be huge. That's through the draft, right? You don't have to pay that much, especially because it's a 2nd-round pick. In the 1st round, it costs even more. So bringing in a guy like Chop Robinson would be nice. Chase Young, if we can get him on that visit, we already have him coming on the visit. That would be nice. And then DJ Wonham, who's set to visit with the Carolina Panthers tomorrow. Ironically, I think of him for that Week 4 game at Bank of America Stadium this season, where he sacked Bryce Young, picked up the ball, and ran it for a 51-yard touchdown. So I hope he could do that in a Panthers uniform as he comes on a visit tomorrow. That would help our linebacker position. He could work with Joel and some of the other guys, like Shaq Thompson, that we have at that position. That's going to wrap it up for this quick Day 1, Day 2 Panthers edition podcast here on the CarolinaCast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. The CarolinaCast on the road to 2,000 subscribers. If you want to check us out on Instagram or TikTok, we are at CarolinaCast Sports. And for our Twitter/X, we are CarolinaCast_15. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm Chris Verma. For the rest of our crew, we're signing out as we get ready to do some more podcasts. March Madness on the way. We will see you all then.